All right, guys, welcome to the Golf Podcast Live. I'm your host, Raphael, here in Toronto, always with Michael Bleakley. And we've got a very special guest on this episode 113 of the Golf Podcast Live. We have a Canadian golfer who's not only a professional, who's played everywhere you could possibly think of. Canadian Tour, nationwide. These days we call it the Korn Ferry Tour, and the PGA Tour Americas, PGA Tour, Gateway, even the Euro Senior Tour, and the PGA Champions Tour, Mr. David Morland. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Raphael.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us, David. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
Well, that's some nice background you got there, David. Where are you at right now?
Currently, Palm Coast, Florida. It's where we live, but I've been teaching a little bit this winter down in Boca at the Polo Club, and I'll be heading up back to Oakdale this year, teach this summer at Oakdale and do some Monday qualifying.
Oh, that's amazing. You know, you brought up Oakdale. What a place. Nick Taylor, all of what's transpired. My old teacher and somebody I always looked up to in the professional golf management program years ago, 25 years ago, was Bob Boschman. He's out there. Make sure you say hello to him for me.
Will do.
Tell me where you're at right now with your game and what you're doing as far as you competitively.
Yeah, still trying to get in to the Champions Tour events. They've cut Monday qualifying down from 4 spots to 3 spots. So each week we got about 50 guys for 3 spots. So, it's,
Wow.
I'm playing okay, shooting a couple under, and you need to shoot about 5 under, 6 under to get in.
And how is your game these days? Are you feeling strong competitive wise?
I would say I'm okay. I got to clean up short game a little bit. That's probably the difference. Still hitting it decent. Make 1 or 2 more putts, get 1 or 2 more up and down, and that's the difference.
You're truly a journeyman pro, somebody who's really pushed the envelope and trying to make it, going back to your days of being at Kent State. Now, Kent State is known for its Canadian golfers. What's the connection there? I guess Herb Page being at the Canadian Connection, really, at that university.
So, it's a funny story. It's, in Canada, we had grade 13. U.S., there was only grade 12. And I wasn't even thinking of going until, after grade 13. And I started getting recruited. I turned down full rides to Illinois, where Steve Stricker and Mike Small were going at the time, and turned down a full ride to Northwestern to go to Kent State on a half scholarship plus out of state. So it worked out to be about 2/3 scholarship, and the biggest reason was Herbie for me. He stood out head and shoulders over the other coaches, and is probably one of the best decisions I could have made. And Kent did have the scholarships, like 5 scholarships. It was our conference that didn't allow the 5. So we only had 2 full rides as a northern school. We were ranked 11th in the country, Division I, with 2 scholarships.
That's ridiculous. And a lot of people followed suit. We're looking at Corey Connors, Mackenzie Hughes, Taylor Pendrith. I guess, was Ben Curtis around when you were around, or was that after you?
So he was after me, but when I was on tour, Ben's a rookie, and Herbie says, "Hey, take Ben under your wing." I said, "Herbie, Ben's going to do just fine."
And I hear John Mills has taken over the program now, another Canadian.
Yeah, who played the tour with me out there, and John's a great guy, great person to continue Kent's future.
That's incredible. Looking at the Canadian Open, have you kept count on how many you've given it a go at?
Do you know what? I haven't. I would say somewhere around 10.
Right on. That's amazing. I'm just the experience alone of being able to play in your national open with the amount of players that you get paired up with on a regular basis. One of the things we like to ask our tour players that come on, and we love talking to Champions Tour players. We get them on all the time. is your experience. Something stands out with a player that you played with. Now, I know many, but if you think about players that really stood out as rounds, maybe when you were younger, what stands out when you think about being paired with somebody?
I got paired with Tiger about 6 times in his prime from 2000 to 04. And, he stood out head and shoulders and wasn't necessarily his ball striking, just his mental toughness. And from inside 10 feet, he made everything.
What was it like for you? Did you have to make adjustments like with the extra galleries, or how did that impact your game every time you
It's
played
the
each
only
other?
time in my career. So we were in the second last group on Sunday at Torrey, and it was the first time in my career I'm like, if I hit one 3 feet past the hole, I actually might have to putt out, just because if I don't and Tiger makes it, you got 10,000 people running to the next tee while you're trying to make a 3-footer. So that's probably the only time in my career that I really felt like I had to make an adjustment to my game.
Now, how does a kid from North Bay get into golf?
So my grandfather and great uncle actually won the Ontario Amateur, the Ontario Better Ball. They were known as the Morland brothers, and won a lot of amateur events. So I was fortunate enough that when I was 10, and he introduced me to Al Balding and George Knudsen. So
Amazing.
Wow.
Canada's legends, as one of my early coaches. So, both of them instilled good fundamentals and, self-belief.
That's amazing. You might not see it from the inside out, but from the outside in, the golf community knows you pretty well. The golf community at large in Canada doesn't get enough publicity, I find. You guys have had a great career, and we're always trying to catch up to Canadians and talk about their experiences and what they're doing. What was it like for you, David, going down to Europe and playing? What was that experience like? I know that you qualified and finished third in the European Senior Tour as well.
Yeah. So I finished second at their Q school, and then the main reason for going over there was that in case I wasn't getting in enough events over here on the Champions Tour, just to stay competitive, because you got to get your competitive rounds in. Otherwise, it's tough to compete at the highest level. It's loved it over there. Money wasn't as great over there. We probably played for 300 to 600,000 with a couple $1 million events mixed in there. But the experience of traveling Europe, most of my career was, playing Asia, South America, Canada, in the U.S. Never got to really see Europe. So the last 4 years were phenomenal. Loved it. Saw some great places. Wife's health isn't quite as good right now. She's got some autoimmune issues, and travel for her has been tough. So for me, going over to Europe by myself doesn't have the same feel to it. So
Yeah, sorry to hear that.
that's okay.
Yeah,
That's okay.
one of the things we do on this episode to keep things light and different, we always talk about embarrassing or funny moments in golf and competitive golf. And, everyone's got their stories from hitting spectators to people running out on the golf course, locker room talk, or when I say funny or embarrassing, is there anything that pops to mind?
So in 01, I had a chance to win the Canadian Open in Montreal, and shot 66 on Sunday, ended up finishing 5th. Verplank ended up winning. But last hole had like a 50-yard bunker shot into 18 and hit it about 6 feet, and I'm getting over my putt. And I think the difference, I don't know, it might have been $50,000 or $60,000. difference, but it was like $140,000 putt.
Ouch.
Right.
So all of a sudden, I'm getting ready to hit it, and this chick comes out of the crowd and like gives me a big hug. Probably one of the biggest putts of my career. And she got through security on 18 green, kind of grabs me, had to regroup myself, and ended up making the putt.
Well,
Nice.
good, good stuff, good stuff. And I remember that, not that particular story, but I do remember that I was assistant professional at Royal Montreal
Okay.
back in the day. I worked for Bob Hogarth, not in those years, but back in 2005 and 6. So certainly, I know the course. That's my hometown of Montreal. So thank you for sharing. That's a great story.
Yeah.
You
And then the other one that would stand out was Tour Championship in 03. I'd won early on the Korn Ferry Tour and was about 5th on the money list going into August. And my daughter's born. And I take 5 weeks off. I come back and I miss 5 of the next 10 cuts. And I'm like 17th on the money list. Top 20 guys get their tour card back. So second round falls on Halloween. And I told my brother, I said, if I'm under par tomorrow, I said, I'm going to change into Austin Powers on 18. He goes, you're a moron. I go, Jonathan, if you can't have fun doing what you do for a living, you should be doing something else. So I got it 2 under on 18, hit a 4-iron to about 15 feet, go behind the trees, change into full-blown Austin Powers, the teeth, the whole bit. And
Awesome.
So I go to take the putter back. It gets stuck in the jacket. It was a little bit loose. So I got to regroup, move the jacket back behind me, get my elbows in there, and make the 15-footer. Made ESPN's top 10.
Wow. That's
fantastic.
And yes, I did get my tour card back.
Amazing.
Nice.
So you've had 4 pro wins. Is there one of those wins that stands out to you? Either like you battled hard to deal with adversity, or something, one of those wins that you're most proud of?
They're all special and in their own way. I think the win in PEI on the Canadian Tour.
Yeah.
I did an outing for Brian Mogg in Calgary about 2 weeks prior to that, and Peter Jacobson was there. And I've been 8 years of Canadian Tour, South America, Asia. I played maybe about 10 tour events through Monday qualifying, but never had full status. And Jacobson's watching me hit balls. He's like, why aren't you on tour? I said, I don't know. And about 2 weeks later, end up winning in PEI. That was September. And then I got my tour card that fall.
Amazing.
So whether it was a little outside, encouragement, something to just get you over the edge, and made the difference.
Very cool.
Well, we're thrilled that you took some time to talk to us. So we'd love to have you on again on our panel. And if you're just tuning in, we're talking to golf professional David Morland, a true Canadian legend in the game of golf. Wishing you a great season, and maybe we'll see you out in Alberta.
All right. Sounds wonderful.
Thanks David.
Guys. Have a great day.
All right. Take care.
All right. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That was pretty amazing. That's David Morland IV, Canadian professional golfer, PGA Tour legend, a real grinder. The guy's been on tour for so long. Really nice of him to share his stories. Mike, your thoughts on having him on?
That was great. He's teaches out of Oakdale, which was a stone's throw from my high school at Bathurst and Finch. He's over at Jane and Finch. That is a well-known area in Toronto, put it that way.
Yeah.
And I mean, he in the early 2000s, he was a big Canadian to all of us, right? Since then, there's been a lot of other guys and girls like Brooke Henderson, and there's been a lot of notable players that have come out of Canada, but he was from the original group, right? And he he didn't play as long on tour, but he still had some success through the other tours nationwide at the time, and a win in Australia at on the was it the Gateway Tour?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, he
Uh,
played.
yeah,
Well, what a career! I mean, just him telling us about his Tiger Woods stories. You know, a lot of the Champions Tour players that we talked to who've had longer careers and wins on tour didn't have a chance to play with Tiger.
and he did a
So
half
to
dozen times, right? That's
that
pretty memorable for a player like him to tell that story to
at
because
his
he
peak, at
yeah
his peak. So we're
at his
talking
peak.
99, 2000, 2001. So you're
Yeah,
having crowds of 10,000 plus following.
absolutely. So that and him being a teaching professional now, spending half the year in Florida and half the year in Canada, that's just great stories. He's going to be able to tell his students and club members and whoever else he's dealing with day to day.
Mike, we need to call him up when you're down here. We'll try to get him to out to play. We'll try to spend some time with him. You know, we got to. I think we'd have some good foursomes with all the guests that we've had over the years. Be a lot of fun to get out there with some of these guys and get some content out on the
Well,
golf course
we
with
will
these players.
absolutely. We've threatened to take down Gary Williams and Johnson Wagner consistently. So I would love to have a crack at that someday. We might need a few strokes.
I think our best opportunity if we head out to Alberta, Calgary this year for the Shaw Classic, which is on the Champions Tour. It's the only PGA Champions stop. It might be a great opportunity since we know all the boys who are out there playing, or many of them. It'd be really cool to see. Coming up very shortly, we're going to have Chris Finn from Par for Success. He's a great trainer. It's a great program. Is he in the waiting room yet, Mike?
He's in the waiting room now. He's just dialing in. So
so we're going to be talking about golf physical therapy, golf personal training, what they do over at Par for Success. And Chris Finn is, pretty well known. He's been on a lot of shows, and he's kind of considered one of the top or best fitness trainers in America by Golf Digest.
Let's hear it from Chris. Should we let him in?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, here he comes.
All right, so looking forward to seeing Chris Finn. Oh, there he is.
Hey, Chris, can you hear us?
What's up? Yeah, I can hear you guys. How you doing?
Pretty good timing. We just got off with David Morland, who's in Florida, a former PGA Tour player and Champions Tour player, talking about his career and being Canadian. We're a Canadian golf podcast, so certainly excited to have him on. But of course, Chris Finn, we're just talking about the fact that you're one of the top trainers in the U.S., top 50 golf fitness trainers, according to Golf Digest. Your program is getting some notoriety. I've been hearing so much about it. Welcome to the show.
Awesome. That's it's quite flattering. Thank you. It's an honor to be here, and you're making me.
I was just going to say you're blushing, like Chris.
I know.
Yeah. Well,
no, it's an honor to be here. I love the show. So
thank you. Thanks for joining us. And I think golf fitness is really the 15th club. A lot of us, neglect it, to put it that way. And really, we could play a lot better if our bodies were more flexible and malleable and cardio levels were stronger. So, yeah, I look forward to learning a little bit more about what you do.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I always, everyone always says that, the ball is the only piece of equipment that you use every shot. And, the body is the only one that you don't lose, at least in the woods or in the water. And, unfortunately, as we get older, it becomes it can become, a bit of a limiting factor for people. We even see it on tour, guys get injured or whatnot. And, so I think we think of I always think of like a pizza pie, just there's different pieces to performance in golf. And when I think of the ones that we can manipulate and control, the body by far and away is the simplest kind of input in, and it's going to give you an output out, most predictable. And we all know there's a lot of uncontrollables in golf. The body's definitely one that we can control.
Yeah.
Well, if you're just joining us on YouTube, Facebook, X, or Instagram, and we are on live, we're talking to Chris Finn from Par for Success. We're going to be talking about golf personal training, golf physical therapy, and what they offer, even just to get started with free stuff. Tell us about the golf performance assessment. And, Mike and I might want to take you up on it.
Yeah, definitely. We'd love to have you guys do it. It's pretty cool. It's one of the, I think the coolest things that we've done. One of the things I'm most proud of is, we started early on. I thought golf fitness was kind of a joke, and I was like, there's no way this stuff works. And so we started collecting tons and tons of data on it, and that's really where the home assessment came from. Is an ability for any golfer, you guys, anyone listening, watching, to go and assess. There's 4 core rotary centers that every golfer needs to, be able to have to move to golf. No, not surprisingly, is a rotational movement, and the hips and the spine and the shoulders, the neck. And it's cool because in the home assessment, what we're able to do is you take it and literally, it's free, and B, within 5 minutes, you're going to know how you compare to other golfers, and not just like, I think the most frustrating thing when I started was, you'd be like, hey, so let's look at your swing compared to Tiger Woods. You're like, I ain't Tiger Woods. And I think the bodies are exactly the same way. And, your body relative to my body, relative to somebody else watching, they're going to be different. And so I think being able to understand at, 30 or 50 or 90, what is normal and what is able to be accomplished. Or the other cool thing we've been able to do recently is say, hey, based on maybe you swing 90 miles an hour and you want to swing 100 miles an hour. Well, what are the physical requirements to be able to do that? Well, the home assessment, we can tell you exactly, hey, your body's built right now to go 90 miles an hour and not get hurt. Looks like you're swinging 100 miles an hour. So, the car wreck is right around the next curve. And so I think that's a cool thing with the assessment is, mobility. There's some power and metrics that we look at based on all the research we've done. And it's like, I always say it's the best 5-minute investment that any golfer could make, and it's free. And
how would your methodology compare to like TPI, which is pretty well known in the sport, and even people who don't work on their physical body have probably heard of it? But is there similarities, or you have a whole complete system? Maybe tell us a little bit about the differences.
Yeah, I mean, I'm good friends with Greg and Dave, and I actually serve as a kind of the business coach for a lot of the TPI certified. So
very cool.
It's definitely the foundation of how I got started in the industry.
Yeah.
I think as I branched out, I didn't, Par for Success, we didn't have we weren't tied to any golf, like touring professionals or anything. Like we started from the ground working with your 50 and 60-year-old amateur who had back pain. And, because of that, it became very apparent very quickly that we needed to figure out, how to give these people the least amount of stuff to do in the quickest amount of time. I always joke that, I own a fitness and run a fitness company, and all of my customers hate fitness. We're golfers. I'm a golf nut too. I'd much rather be playing or practicing than sitting in a gym. And so really, if you ask about kind of our methodology, it's always been about what is the least amount of work or least amount of things I can have a golfer do to get the biggest return. And I think that's where, I think fundamentally from a principle level, there's not much difference between TPI and what we do. And that, you need to rotate, you need to have a certain level of strength, and those things are there. I think the big or unique thing about what we do is, in 90 minutes in a week, 15 minutes, in a day, and you can take a day off every week. We can, we're able to say, hey, this is, if you can do at least 15 minutes in a day, like we guarantee you're going to see at least 3 miles an hour or 10 yards in the first 3 months. In the first year, the average guy sees 20 yards. And it's what is that minimal effective dose? Has it just been the drum that we beat to every single day? And it's all, vetted in or based in the research.
Well, it sounds attractive to not have to go pound it out in the gym for 60 minutes. And like, that's the biggest part, is getting through the doors of a fitness facility, or, but if you're doing 15 minutes or 20 minutes a day, you can do this at home.
Right? Yeah. Well, I think that's the big, when we start working with guys, we started out, it was like, you could do it at home. It's great. And then guys would be like, cool, I don't have anything at home. And we were like, oh, okay. Well, then you could go, and you're trying to figure out how to. So we just, at this point, it's like when people sign up, it's, all right, all the equipment you need will be at your door in the next couple of days. Like, don't even worry about it. It's going to show up.
Yeah.
And we just send it to them. A rate, like swing speed radar, everything. Because if you're not tracking and guessing, what we find is that people don't see progress. And it's the coolest thing with golf, or I mean anybody in fitness, but I think golf, I mean, that's where I live. And if you show a golfer, if you say, hey, golfer, do this exercise, right? And then you say, hey, how do you feel? I don't know, 3 weeks from now. And they're like, like they're not going to keep doing it. If you say, hey, golfer, do that same exercise. And now in 3 weeks, retest your club head speed. Oh, it's up 2 miles an hour. You think they're going to keep doing it? Not only are they going to keep doing it, they're like, can I get 2 more?
Yeah.
No, that's understandable. Yeah, it's interesting how fitness has developed in golf over the years. You know, back in the day, there weren't too many players doing it at all, outside of Gary Player and a few guys. Then Tiger Woods came along 25 years ago, revolutionized the game. Fitness came into play more so, and you saw players getting fitter and fitter, coming to a point right now on the PGA Tour and all tours and college golfers where there's not one player out there without a fitness program. I could actually name the guys who are not on the program, on a program, on my 10 fingers, right?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about how long the assessment takes, how many questions there are, and what the tracking process is like. How do you keep track of what you're doing?
Yeah, so I mean, the assessment, if you're just doing the free one, takes 5 minutes. We actually work with people. Like if you come in house or we work with people all over the world remotely. Yeah, it's usually about an hour to kind of go through all the different the true full testing to see where somebody's at, develop the full plan, and then we have our own app that we use where we track everybody to make sure you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. But then the fact of the matter is, like, you get invited last minute on a golf trip or a member guest, or you play at a member guest and your back's tight the next day. I think the cool thing that every one of our clients has a coach, so they can be like, hey, my back's tight, I got to play again tomorrow, what should I do? And we can upload the new workout into the program for you for that night or that next morning, so that you can play the next day. So I think that's where it's evolved. That's how we work with our tour guys, all our World Long Drive guys. We've got actually guys playing right now. I'm tracking the ACC Championship. Got guys playing in that right now. I think it's funny you mentioned the old days, and the fun thing when we have our podcast and I have lots of older players come on, and it's funny when you talk to them, and the 90s, guys are like, yeah, you go to there was the fitness trailer, that's where you'd sit and smoke a cigar and have a bourbon, and there might be one guy in there doing work, right? Yeah. And then you get
sounds like the Champions Tour.
Yeah, exactly. And then then you get to kind of like the early 2000s. Then there starts Tiger's obviously there. So like late 90s into the 2000s, you get to start getting some people there. Then all of a sudden now there's 2 trailers. Right now there's a rehab trailer, like a keep me together, fix me trailer, and there's a workout trailer. And then you get to today, and all of these, like our tour guys, like they have their own program, and when they walk on that trailer, like you have a relationship with the physio or the trainer, whoever's there, and you say, hey, they actually can walk in and they're so educated to this point. They're like, hey, I need X here to help me with this. And then you can message back and forth with the guy on tour. And it's evolved so far from the old days of, you mentioned player, and, or more guys were, drinking a bourbon, than we're working out. And when you talk to a lot of the tour guys, even just like on the range too, right? They talk about, I was talking to Carl Paulson, and he was saying when he was on tour, if you had something wrong with your swing, like you went out and you had to dig dirt for like 3-4 hours, try to figure that thing out.
Yeah.
Right. Nowadays, they got 3 different, TrackMan, they got Flight Scope, they got 4 different monitors, and within 15 swings, like boom, it's figured out. So the efficiency is there on the technical side, but it's also there on the physical, which is cool.
Yeah, it's really quality over quantity.
Yeah, that reduces physical wear on the body instead of figuring it out in the dirt like the old days. You can get right on into technique, and it's just gonna, as we know, golf, where you get all kinds of little micro injuries, and especially amateurs hitting off of range mats. You don't realize that how injury prone you can become when you practice that way.
Especially us, Mike, right? I'm 51 now. I've been a coach and instructor for 26th season right now. And Mike, he's a top amateur golfer. We've gone through our share of injuries. It's wonderful to hear about that.
I got like frozen shoulder now. I'm like, now what, right? This is new.
Yeah.
Is it on your left shoulder? I saw you.
Yeah, left shoulder. So as soon as I transition down, it like lights up. It doesn't. It's not high pain, but it's a problem. So I definitely got to work on it.
So it's actually interesting because when we do our research, we always look like lead shoulder versus trail shoulder. We do hips too, and it's very interesting. We actually just found about 2 months ago we had enough. Our database is in the tens of thousands at this point, and we just got enough basically data that we were able to find the left shoulder actually lack of mobility will negatively impact speed way more on the lead side than it does on the trail side. Wow. So trail side, if that shoulder's a problem, it will impact obviously path, attack angle, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Sequencing a little bit on the left side or the lead side. So left side for a right-handed player, right side for a left-handed player. It actually will negatively impact speed and cap how fast you can go. So definitely we need to get that shoulder fixed.
That's really interesting.
Sign me up.
It's funny that you mentioned that, Chris. I went through a left shoulder problem as well, frozen shoulder. Couldn't lift my arm up higher than that.
Oh,
and
wow.
then I heard Bernard Longer talk about it was all about alignment for him. And he had a frozen shoulder problem also on his left side. And he was doing door frame stretches, putting his hands up on the door frame and stretching forward, then getting into a chest postural position and stretching forward. And I said, you know what? I'll try anything. After 2 weeks, it all went away. So amazing. It had to be about aligning your spine by stretching up that way, and then your chest and your shoulder for mobility and rotation. I couldn't believe it worked. But I'll trust that guy since he's 67 years old, still
he's
playing
won a few times. He's done all right. Yeah, but it's interesting. I think that's, to your point, any golfer who plays golf, into their 40s or beyond, you're going to run into issues. Right. I think the thing we see with the younger guys these days is he's playing in the ACC championship right now. He's basically already played a pro career if you go back 40 years ago in terms of the amount of volume and travel and reps. Right. So these guys are getting, by the time they get to the tour, they've already basically played one career. Yeah. And so when you look at the volume, the beating that these bodies take, I think is one of the coolest things about golf is the comparison that a 50-year-old or 60-year-old can have to those guys of like, oh, I've had that injury. Oh, I struggle with that. And it's just, we talk about it. We can play the same courses. We can kind of try to hit the same shots. The body is the same. The physical principles that we are required to swing a golf club don't change. There was a comment on our YouTube page the other day. They said, my PT, I think they had their knee replaced or something. And they said, in order to get me back to golf and take stress off, they told me to play up a tee.
Yeah,
I see.
Well, actually, that's actually wrong. Like, it doesn't matter what tee you're playing from. You're going to swing what you're going to swing. The force on your knee is going to be exactly the same because the physical principle is the same. It may make the game a little more enjoyable, but I think that it's just such a cool principle to think about as for anyone listening that like what your body is trying to do. If you swing 115 miles an hour, and the average guy on tour is swinging there too, you guys have to produce the same forces, there's the same physical requirements. They obviously just do it more consistently and better. But I think that's one of the cool things from a physical standpoint is you truly can do the same workouts as tour guys if you have the same physical requirements.
You know what, Chris? We're going to take you up on your offer. We're going to give this a shot. We might even just keep our audience members abreast of how we're progressing if we have the discipline to follow through.
Well, I'll tell you what, the coaches are going to be texting you a lot. Hey guys, saw a red X today. We need that green check.
Well, I think that's what's attractive.
That's great.
You have an app, you can track it. There's a level of accountability that's attached to it outside of just trying to show up at a trainer's facility. There's someone yelling at you through the app to hustle, which I 100%. Think is great.
Well, it'll be really cool too. We've just started we started some in-person accelerators where a lot of our guys will come down for a 3-day event. At our facility, we get to go through the force plates, the 3D stuff, the actually hands-on stuff for a couple of days, and we have some fun too. We're Top Golf and go play and stuff. But it's a really cool experience that we'd love to get you guys down here for that too. Is it's it just elevates it to the next level, which is really cool.
Are you doing that? Where are you doing that exactly? Down in Florida or Texas?
No, so we're in Raleigh, North Carolina. So
okay,
we're 5 minutes from Raleigh Durham airports, major international airport. So you fly in, it's 5 minutes here, and
nice.
yeah, we'll talk after. We'll get you guys set up at least for the remote stuff. But yeah, it's pretty cool how we're able to help people, and we have obviously our physios are on our team too. So particularly for your shoulder, basically being able to not only just have like a golf fitness coach, but also a physical therapist, taking who all they do is golf and understanding, hey, what's going on and how's that going to impact your swing. So
before we let you go, Chris, we're just going to ask you, can you name drop a couple of players that you guys worked with on tours so our audience members could, follow up on this or kind of see who
you're allowed to, that is.
Well, yeah, maybe it's personal.
There's let's see, I'll give you a couple. So one guys, Ryan Gerard just played pretty well last week. He's a former Carolina Tar Heel. If anyone's in the long drive world, they know Kyle Berkshire. Or Colton Casto. Basically, anyone in the top 10. we train all those guys too.
I need physio just by looking at him.
170 miles an hour club head speed does something to your body differently.
I'm envious of his hair.
I could never keep up with that. I don't know how he does it. It's impressive, but those are a couple of the guys that I can mention at least.
Amazing. Well, I look forward to chatting offline, and we can maybe do some content pieces and see how you can improve a couple older farts in Canada here. It's I think that's what's holding me back in my game at the moment, because I had a hernia operation a few years ago, and I've never been the same since. So there's definitely some foundational work need to be done.
100%. We've seen it a few thousand times. So we'll definitely get in touch, and we'll get you guys there. Especially it's getting to be golf season up there. We need to get you ready, man.
Yeah, that's right.
I played yesterday, and I'm so tired today. Just I just need to get the reps up, and looking forward to it. Getting the full swing here.
All right. Well, if you're just joining us or you're following up with us, Par 4 Success. So that's par4success.com is where you could find Chris and his team and all that they do. Thanks for coming on the show. We'll talk soon.
Yeah. Thanks so much, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, take care, Chris.
Well, that was interesting. Chris is quite the knowledgeable guy when it comes to fitness, and not only fitness, but, the personal training aspect to fitness, the golf physical therapy portion to that. And like you said, the accountability is pretty incredible. They've got a remote physical location. I think they're out in Raleigh, along with the physical therapy. And I love that in-person accelerator program he's talking about as well.
Yeah, 100%. The golf fitness is huge. I mean, everybody you golf with has some kind of ailment, whether it's a knee, a calf, a back. You go through, it's a high injury sport. You wouldn't think it, but it requires every single muscle in the body to swing efficiently. And if one muscle group is injured or weak, you're not going to perform at your highest level. So they're truly looking forward to seeing what we can do with this.
Guys, if you're just joining us or you've been watching from the beginning, I just want to say thank you from Mike and myself. Make sure you subscribe, whatever social media platform you're watching from, or go onto our YouTube channel. We're trying to grow that. We're going to be doing some great summer content on the golf course and at events. A big thank you to our sponsors. Now, we can't do any of this without people like Lagmaster Sports, Paradax, Shape and Swelter, obviously the Raphael Golf Academy. If you're out in Oakville, make sure to come and see me. Tea Time Teas, ECS Agency Inc. Make sure you check out their website for all your web needs. These guys do an amazing job. And Northwestern Golf. Mike, I got to tell you, we're going to have a good summer. You and I are both going to get our game in shape, and we're going to take our listeners and our viewers on a trip.
Yes, let's do it. Yeah, definitely. But thank you again for listening, watching. Please hit subscribe, like, or follow, depending on the platform. That goes a long way. And we look forward to seeing you next time.
Okay, with Mark Calcavecchia. Right, that's our
Yeah.
next guest.